my hives seem to be flying, don't seem to have any issues or any hives that are silent right now. Everybody seems to be doing really good. Over here at these bees, the same is going on over here. Everyone's flying. 82-degree day, so they're all enjoying the weather. Got a few coming and going here. This one's really moving. So yeah, everything's looking good after that big freeze. No losses so far. Just need to have some flowers start coming out so these girls get some food. All right, so today and for the last couple of days, I've been clearing a new area for some bees. I've got a new little bee yard area set up here that's going to be for my nucleus hives that I'm going to make with splits this year, as well as I'm going to try queen grafting. So if I can make my own queens, I'm really going to be cranking out a lot of nukes. So this is kind of the area. The other area of bees is over there that was more towards the front of the road, and then back behind me there is the older hives that are a lot taller. So I'm kind of just expanding here, and I'm going to fill up this whole area that I'm standing in. I'm going to try to fill up with rows of bees all behind me. Try to get quite the operation going here, hopefully. Today is February 28th. And it is 63 degrees, feels nice outside, and I believe I'm going to go ahead and open up some of these hives for the first time this year. If you remember from my previous videos, none of these hives have been open since October, so it's been a good 4 months, and I'm going to open them up and see how everybody's looking, and I will be adding boxes to any of these single deeps that might need them. All right, so there's the queen right there. So everything looks good in there. They're just coming out of winter looking like they should. Here soon they will start brooding. Right now there is no brood, just a bunch of empty combs with a little bit of honey. All right, so it appears these bees have died. I'm about to find out why. They either starved or they froze, and it was a weak hive to begin with. So let's see what happened. It appears that they just died because they were clustered probably for too long and probably too weak of a hive. They just don't have the population that they needed. Yeah, that was all that was left of them, was just a small cluster. Today is March 3rd and it is 75 degrees. It's starting to feel a whole lot like spring around here. Hello everyone, today is March 8th and it's about 60 degrees and none of these boxes are active over here. This is a new area that I set up with the plan of expanding my bee yard this next year, or this current year. My one bee yard is over there and then the other bees y'all normally see in the videos are over there. So I've set up this long row and I basically put all my swarm traps out on this row, just already baited up, already ready to go. And it's been kind of cold the last couple days, so the bees are kind of coming out for the first time today. But there's a lot of activity over here on these boxes, and it's mainly on the outside surface. But there also are bees on the inside of this one that are kind of walking around and coming and going, just inspecting. So this is what I'd probably call swarm activity or scouting activity from swarms. The bees are also active, just like flying around on the ground. Like I was walking earlier and they're just kind of like flying in the grass, checking everything out. So, you know, they're out looking for stuff right now, but they're really interested in these boxes right now, which makes me think that somebody's either going to swarm soon or maybe possibly there's a swarm somewhere nearby already hanging in a tree. So I'll continue to film anytime I walk over here, or if I see a swarm move in. I definitely would like to get that on video. It would be really nice. You want to see the reason why you don't leave spare equipment outside? That's why. Hello everyone, today's March 9th. I wanted to give a quick update here. As it starts to warm up, I am going through my boxes to check and see who has made it and who has not. And unfortunately, I am discovering some losses of my smaller hives. Unfortunately, I did lose my top bar hive. My top bar hive is no more, so I'm going to use those combs for hopefully getting a swarm to move into this box. I also lost this little guy. This one was a kind of a weak hive. It was only on about 2 frames. I had another one here that I had lost, kind of the same situation where it was just weak. These were just nukes that were empty, so that wasn't anything. Over here, there was a blue hive that I lost. Same situation, it was weak, and I've lost that white one. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hives that I've lost. Everyone else seems to be doing good. I've got these single deeps that are, you know, still pretty small, and I do need to keep an eye on them. This is probably the biggest losses that I've ever had. Last year, I only lost 1 hive, and that was with a worse winter than what we had this year. But all good. I'm going to use these combs as swarm trap combs, and try to basically split all of my better genetics. Because honestly, this bee yard was all different queens. These were queens that I purchased, excluding this bigger box, this box, and that bigger box. Everything else in here was from a purchased queen. They were not that great. They were pretty weak. Didn't really have any good success with them at all, actually. So this year, I'm going to split my own bees, make my own queens, and hopefully end up with more hives that are like this and like that. And like my other bee yard that's over there through the woods, I want boxes that are really high and strong. No more of this single deep crap, whether or not it's going to end up making it through winter. So, all right. So everyone is officially bringing in pollen for the first time this year. If you see those little yellow balls or orange balls that are kind of on their back legs, That's pollen that's basically wadded up that they're taking into the hive. All right, everyone, right there on the entrance is a drone. This is the first drone of the year that I've seen. That means that I can probably go ahead and start making my splits. The bees are starting to really crank out pretty good. Weather's been nice, and so yeah, here pretty soon they're going to be pretty much splittable because they're going to want to start swarming here pretty soon. So it is now time that I start opening all these hives and get to my spring work. All right, so final step of this video is I want to go ahead and add some pollen patties to these couple of deeps that I have left. It's not something I normally do. They're kind of old and nasty because I never use them anyway, but I lost some deeps, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that these deeps also don't end up dying because there's not really very many blooms available right now. So I am just going to set a small bit of pollen basically on top of the frames of these couple deeps that I have that might potentially benefit from them. They may end up not using them, and I may end up throwing them away here soon. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. These things are gross and old and stiff, and I haven't really ever used them honestly since I bought them like 4 years ago. So hopefully that's okay for the bees. I also don't have gloves right now, so we're gonna see how this goes. Yeah, these bees are not doing great. So I am gonna definitely put that pollen patty in there. A little bit of a tight fit, but they're gonna come up from underneath and basically eat that. So, there we go. Now I'm gonna do the same thing for these other boxes over here. They're gonna end up being pissed. I need to go get some gloves real quick. I'll be right back. All right, so I got me some gloves. Let's see what happens when I open up this box without any smoke. Let me first grab my pollen patty. So I've broken off a good chunk there. Look, the bees are unhappy with me already. Oh shit. Wow, those bees are very angry for some reason. Yep, they're trying to sting. They're stinging my gloves. So that's why I grab gloves. Because I don't like when that happens. So basically when I say that these bees are Africanized, that makes you immediately think they're trying to kill me. That doesn't mean they're really trying to like kill me that badly, but this is kind of what I mean by they're Africanized. They have a bit of an aggression to them the second you open them up, and they're not all of my hives are like this. This particular one is just a little bit touchy just now. Just from having the lid open, they were just shooting guard bees at me constantly. My hands, my gloves did receive a couple of stings. So some hives are just like that. That's why I usually wear some kind of protection. As you can see, I'm not wearing much right now. My wrists are exposed. I did have some bees land on my wrist just now, and I got lucky and they didn't sting me. They could come up underneath my veil if they wanted to. These are not too bad, but they're bad enough that I definitely would be wearing protection anytime I was, messing with them. So yeah, that's pretty much how that can go sometimes. That's why you need to always make sure you have some kind of protection at least nearby, or have a smoker lit, or some kind of a way out in case things go wrong. All right, folks. Well, in conclusion, basically I've lost a couple of weak deeps. Those deeps that I lost, they pretty much were hives that I deemed as not that great going into winter. And the explanation as to why I didn't do anything about it or combine them is honestly because this hive right here that I'm sitting by, years ago when I started this hive, it was really struggling. It had varroa mites really badly, and they went into winter looking terrible. Honestly, I wasn't too happy with them, but I was just going to let them do their thing and see what happens. Turns out this hive ended up actually being a really, really good hive. When spring started that year, they came out and were pretty much looking good, like immediately. Like they overcame whatever issue they were going through, but they went into winter on like 2 or 3 frames of bees, and that's not very many bees. That's pretty much how these deeps that I just showed that had died, that's how they went into winter, was like 2 or 3 frames of bees. And I'm realizing it's just not enough bees. Like, I do want to give them that chance to come out of winter and be a good hive, and like I'd like to give them that opportunity because they could end up turning into something like this. But in reality, losing 5 deeps, you know, it's not the end of the world. But what I should have done was probably go ahead and combine those to try to make a couple of bigger hives. You know, maybe 2 hives out of all 5 of those, just combine everything together and save the best queen. Now, I didn't do that. I went ahead and let them take the risk of going into winter just with a couple frames of bees, and they ended up dying. I also wasn't too happy with the genetics of those bees. The reason they went into winter with only a few frames of bees is because they didn't do good throughout the entire spring and summer leading up to that point. They just weren't building up. They weren't doing good, but like I said, I gave them the chance to see what they could do for me, and they just weren't good enough. Those were purchased queens from a website that I ordered some virgin queens from, and they were okay in springtime, but once summer came, they weren't building up anymore. And honestly, I've had way better luck with all of my like feral bees. So this year, I'm basically going to start trying to make my own queens. I'd like for you to all watch the journey of me going along on queen grafting, because it is kind of a complicated thing to learn how to do. So I don't know how to do it. I am going to try queen grafting this year and try making my own queens, and I'll show everyone how it goes for me, successful or not, because I would like to at least teach anybody anything that I can basically teach myself. So stick around. Thanks for watching my videos, and until next time, have a good day. Thanks for watching.